Hi, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Sylvia, and I am the Communications Officer for the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Health, or ANH Academy, and the Imana program based at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Thank you so much for joining us today for this celebration of our great partner, Ag2Nut's 10-year anniversary. We've got a great lineup of speakers today from all over the world, and we hope you enjoy. So before we get started, I'd like to go over a few technical Zoom items so you all know how to participate today. First, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our website. All participants have been muted, but please introduce yourselves using the chat box. Let us know your name, where you're joining us from, and the organization you work with. And also make sure when you're in the chat box to send the message to everyone instead of just one particular person. Please also rename yourself in the Zoom call with the name you'd like people to use. You can access the chat box by clicking the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Feel free to message in the chat box with any comments and questions and ideas you have throughout the webinar. And if at any point you experience any technical issues, you can message me or Abel or any one of us. But if you lose connection or have any audio issues, please check your settings and your internet connection. And if you need to, please do connect again to the webinar using the same link. So that's it from me for now. So now over to our first speaker, Jim Levinson. Thanks.
Thanks, Sylvia. One of the developments that has given me the greatest pleasure since I began working in nutrition way back in the 1960s has been the development and the extraordinary growth of Ag2Nut. Finally, looking back, I had the opportunity in the 70s to be active in the first iteration of multi-sectoral nutrition. We managed to set up multi-sectoral nutrition planning units in 26 different countries. How great, we thought. In fact, most of them went nowhere. What was the likelihood back then that officials from other sectors, agriculture, rural development, education, water and sanitation, as well as health, would be willing to listen to nutritionists and reorient even a portion of their activities to address malnutrition? I remember the director of the Agriculture Division of USAID saying to me at the time, first they bother us with the environment, then they bother us with gender, and now you're bothering us with nutrition. For God's sakes, why don't you all just leave us alone and let us grow the food? I found it interesting that once it became clear that multi-sectoral nutrition wasn't working, nutritionists reasserted their preeminence and introduced a period that we sometimes refer to as nutrition isolationism, implying, well, if they won't cooperate with us, we'll do it ourselves. And thus, we witnessed several decades almost exclusively focused on what we now refer to as nutrition-specific interventions, with, of course, an inability to address underlying malnutrition causality. So, fast forward 40 years, and interest gets rekindled in multi-sectoral nutrition. The stimulus was in part the acknowledgement and understanding that undernutrition is associated with almost half of child deaths internationally, and more broadly, the international focus on Millennium Development Goals and the fact that nutrition, itself one of the goals, is inextricably connected to at least 5 of the others. Enter nutrition-sensitive interventions, and key among them, nutrition-sensitive agriculture. And enter Ag2Nut. I just knew this was a winner when I first heard about it from Anna and Emily, but I never dreamed it would become something like this. I am just thrilled. And let me add a footnote. My personal dream is to see more empirical evidence of the effects, both on food insecurity and on malnutrition, of nutrition-sensitive agriculture projects. Please, let's do more evaluating. And if you're looking for instruments with which to do that, Anna and I have some ideas. Heartiest congratulations, team.
Thank you, Jim. I'm Emily Levitt Rupert, now mostly Emily Rupert, but when this all began, I was Emily Levitt. And it is so wonderful to see many people here, including Anne-Marie Mayer, who will feature in my remarks. I think before I kick off, I wanted us to make this more of a party than a Zoom call. So we have a party game. And I think Sylvia is going to put that up for us. So depending on how long you've been a part of our group, this will be easier or more difficult. So there's a little reward for if you've been involved from early on. So take the poll, and then I'll start in. Sylvia, do hosts have the summary?
I think I might be the only one with the summary.
Well, I have
at the moment. Oh, do you? Okay.
But it's
well, at
fine.
the moment,
I wrote the questions, so I don't need to take the quiz.
Great. Yeah, we have about 11 people who responded. So please do fill it out when you see it pop up on your screen. Numbers are going up. Maybe when we get to half of people, we can move on. Great, 20 people. Keep those responses coming. We have a lot of variety, so folks are disagreeing about where Ag2Nut started.
What's beautiful is that we have people joining every day. So maybe I'll start. So Jim, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We, those of us who helped organize this group from the start have looked to Jim as a mentor, as he had been working on this through the years and had also worked with Anna in her graduate studies. And so we're very thankful for Jim's ongoing mentorship of us and our group. So where were we all in 2010? It was a few years after the 2008 food, fuel, and finance crisis and the publication of the Lancet series on maternal and child undernutrition. That publication noted the achievements of the international nutrition community, but observed that the community was fragmented, slowing its ability to speak with a unified voice to garner needed support for policy priorities. In the years leading up to the formation of Ag2Nut, Anna and I and Cecilia and Anne-Marie Mayer and Andy Jones and others who may be joining the call were among a handful of graduate students at Cornell University who wanted to link the two sides of our campus. The nutrition building was just off the agriculture quad, but the two sides didn't really connect, and professors even discouraged taking courses in the other college for some reason. So the students doggedly pursued research projects linking agriculture to nutrition despite the barriers. It was surprising that the university didn't already have strong links, but we helped make that happen. We formed a graduate student organization called FANG, the Food Agriculture Nutrition Group Grads, and we were able to get university funding, and we sponsored speakers and co-sponsored them with Agriculture College and the nutrition department. And that helped create more cross-sector fertilization of thinking. We also formed a FANG group that was inclusive of faculty and research staff at the university. And that was instrumental in helping many of us identifying research projects and questions and research sites and faculty to be on our graduate committees across departments. We found kindred spirits like Ag2Nut has become, and that wanted us to succeed and helped us and sharpened our ability to do so with our diverse areas of expertise. Many of us then graduated, moved into the DC area, where Anna Herforth and I were meeting for coffee one day and discovered that, wow, we both have the same exact job description. She was at the World Bank, I was at Fanta AED at the time, and our bosses both wanted us to write a brief on how to link agriculture and nutrition. A lot of groups were starting to do this, and we kept meeting people at IFPRI seminars and other places where people were trying to do this. So I called Anna one day and I proposed we start a FANG DC, but we'd have to call it something a little more professional. So we came up with the Agriculture Nutrition Community of Practice. I said, let's not have 6 sets. We found about 6 people with this job description. Let's not have 6 sets of recommendations on how to link ag and nutrition. Let's not have that fragmentation that the international nutrition community had been accused of having. Let's all work cohesively and create some consensus. So we started meeting around a meeting room table. Then we started a Google group for exchanging ideas. Then it grew to more than 15, 20 people every month, just word of mouth. We had conference calls, different people's organizations would host it. We'd take minutes, we'd take turns taking minutes. And no one organization was in charge. We remained independent so that we could have independent thinking across these organizations. And also the durability as organizations came and went and funding cycles came and went. So by a year later, mid-2011, the UN Standing Committee on Nutrition approached us and said, we would love to host you on our Knowledge Gateway platform that offered us a map of where all our members were, a directory of membership where you could contact each other, a library for resources, a record of all of our email discussions, and a host of other benefits, and this listserv, this email listserv that we use. So I'm thrilled to say that a decade later, we now have 7,600 members and counting. And we are still achieving that initial goal of knowledge sharing, building consensus, and building each other's capacity to improve nutrition through agriculture. So hopefully I've answered most of our questions. We started in DC. We have no parent organization, although different employers did cover our staff time to do the work, but it's all volunteer. We reached 100 members after a year, and 130 countries now and territories, and yeah, about 7,600 members now. So thank you all for participating in the poll and for being a part of this special group.
Thanks, Emily. Your leadership has been so important. We wouldn't be here without Emily having picked up the phone and said, hey, let's do FANG DC. So really, it's a tribute to Emily that this exists. And, you know, I want to go back to that time a little bit more in this discussion. It's so nice to see everyone here. You know, so many faces here on the screen that we were, you know, we've been talking since 2010 or even earlier in the case of some of you. And we've done a lot together and really have been so glad for your partnership. In 2010, you know, I had just moved to DC and started my first job post-grad school at the World Bank. And my very first task of my first job was to assist in the launch of the SUN movement, the Scaling Up Nutrition movement, which launched in April of 2010 at the World Bank. And it was a time, I mean, it was very exciting because it was, you know, as Emily mentioned, after the 2008 crises, where this had followed a long decline of investment in agriculture. agriculture had fallen off the radar until 2008, when suddenly the world realized that investing in food is really important. And also in 2008, we had that Lancet series on maternal and child nutrition, which really was a way that the international nutrition community came together in a way as had not happened before about priorities for nutrition. And these two things really had led into this momentum towards the start of the Sun movement. And so when we got to the launch of that movement, I remember David Nabarro talking about nutrition-specific interventions and nutrition-sensitive development for the first time. That was sort of when those terms were coined. And, you know, sitting there amongst this room filled with people, government representatives from all over, agency representatives, nonprofit representatives, you know, everyone was pretty clear on what needed to be done for nutrition-specific interventions. Thanks in large part to that Lancet series. There was a, you know, very clear list of priorities for investment. But then on the nutrition sensitive side, the dominant narrative at the time was, well, we don't really have any evidence and we need to do it, but we're not sure what to do. So that was really, you know, sitting there hearing that, that was like, you know, coming from FANG at Cornell and having done a dissertation on linking ag and nutrition and knowing that we had a lot more to say than there's no evidence. So it was really important to start talking with each other and come together around what are we all saying? You know, what is the common message here? What has the evidence told us? What has practice told us that we can all have some sort of distinct, clear statement about what we all think needs to be done to help link agriculture and nutrition. So that's where, you know, like Emily described, we started coming together and discussing these things. First starting with just a handful of people. And then as we told colleagues, more people wanted to join. And then we became too big to, you know, meet in a room. And then soon we had more than 20 people. So the phone lines that we were using were kicking people off and we needed to find a way to expand beyond 20 people. So we, you know, we kept talking about what it is that we really think our priorities are. And as in our different organizations, you know, Emily was at Fanta, I was working on this at the World Bank, and there were many others, putting out publications in the institutions of what does this mean to invest in agriculture for nutrition. And so then Charlotte Dufour, also at that same time, was joining FAO and had a very similar need for FAO for what, you know, can we say about linking ag and nutrition, and decided to really collaborate on this and support the elaboration of the key recommendations for linking agriculture, food systems, and nutrition, and really systematizing those into a document that was ultimately endorsed by FAO. And those key recommendations for linking agriculture and nutrition were directly from our Ag2Nut conversations. It went through multiple rounds of input and vetting and changes from all of the different members and all of the different writings that everyone in this community was doing. So it was really a joint consensus statement. And it was a set of recommendations that really affected the way that organizations conceptualized and organized their agriculture programs to try to improve nutrition and to start building a better evidence base for nutrition impacts. So I'm going to put in the chat box a description that we wrote up of how that process went. It was in SCN News at the time, and you can read about that, but I would also like to invite Charlotte Dufour to say a little bit more about that and what it's led to from the past now into where we are today. So over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you very much, Anna and Emily, and it's so wonderful to see many familiar faces whom I've missed in recent years of not being so active. I love, one of the features I really love about this community of practice is that we're really anchored in the field. And in the way, there's also a pre-2010 story. When Emily was doing her PhD on ag nutrition in Afghanistan, I was then a nutritionist with FAO in the Ministry of Agriculture. Anna, you were in the field. And I think that's a very distinct feature of Ag2Nut, is that very, very strong link to the field and capitalizing lessons learned. I'd like to build on what Anna was saying about how important these key recommendations were. And Anna's ambition and vision back in 2010 was, we need to speak with one voice to be heard, both by the agriculturalists who are saying nutrition, not my business, or I'm too busy, as James was saying, or the nutritionists who are saying, where's your evidence base? You know, that food has a role in nutrition. Anyway, so we thought it would be very important. And as soon as these key recommendations started coming out, even when they were in draft form, they started being impactful. We used the draft in the first training on mainstreaming nutrition in CADEP, Agricultural Investment Plans, back in 2011. And even as we were still developing them, I would go to meetings and there would be, that I hadn't been involved in organizing or any of us, and there would be the agenda and a printout of the key recommendations, which showed how much they were responding to a need. Very soon, Rajiv Shah from USAID, who's launching the Feed the Future program, said, hey, this is great. I want Feed the Future to be applying this. Colleagues in the bank also were starting to say, okay, in the agriculture practice, we need to be doing more for nutrition. How can we leverage our investments for improved nutrition? And they found those recommendations to be useful. And gradually, they, spring also was starting and really built upon them. In FAO, we developed a whole toolkit for informing the design of agricultural investment programs. We developed a compendium of indicators with Anna. We developed e-learning modules. And all of these tools really started spreading and influencing the work of many, many people in our field and beyond. I feel that they were also shaping beyond agriculture what a nutrition sensitive approach is, and we used them to help inform also social protection planning or resilience and emergency plannings. I like to think that that little investment that we made as a team influenced billions of dollars worth of investments in agriculture. So I think this speaks to the power of the collective. And initially, interestingly, we didn't want to brand them. We didn't want to put a logo, and I was there, okay, FAO can support this, but this is everybody's recommendations. But then the team said, it would add value, it would add strength if FAO can vet this. And so we did. But I really, it's been so much fun preparing for this webinar and going down memory lane and remembering how long a way we've come. There's so much more experience and capitalization. And I think this community of practice has provided a space that stimulated even more capitalization and experience sharing. That's something to really value and hold on to for the future as well. Joe Yates will soon say something about the ANH Academy, and I'd like to also pay tribute to Jeff Waga, who was launching the El-Sira program at the time and who was a major supporter of all this work. And again, there, huge boost in research. And I think, again, this community has been a very important feature. And I'd just like to conclude by saying 10 years ago, we were fighting for attention and, speaking a bit against the current. And today we're so mainstream. Food systems is everywhere. The Secretary General is calling a summit about this next year. And I went back to the key recommendations and looked at their content and looked at the summit's agenda. And I felt, wow, this was really a precursor. We were demonstrating the need for agriculture to connect to health, education, employment, social protection, address gender and inequities. All of this was there in that one pager. And today that's really mainstream in the food systems approach. So I think we can celebrate because the members of this COP have had a role in this. And maybe I'd like to now share a few words on behalf of Dr. Nabarro, who is with us in spirit and who couldn't be here in person. So I'll just project a video where he can give some insights as to where we could go from here. So let me first share my screen and go full screen. and go.
Greetings, everybody. I really do wish this agriculture to nutrition community of practice a really happy 10th anniversary. I'm delighted to be with you today, and I'm thinking about the 10 years since you started. What was I doing 10 years ago? I'll tell you. That was just around the time I was being made special representative of the UN Secretary General for Food Security and Nutrition. And we've been very active on the high-level task force for food security, bringing together the way in which different UN entities were focusing on food systems and food security. And then we were asked to look at nutrition and how was the UN family approaching nutrition. And it was in 2010 that we'd been really getting stuck into the strategy for scaling up nutrition, which had been developed by a number of different UN actors, and then trying to bring that to life. Our ambition with the Scale Up Nutrition movement was to find a way in which it was possible to encourage actors from all over the world to adopt an interdisciplinary and multi-sectoral approach to nutrition, breaking down some of the silos that restricted our ability to communicate with each other, trying to find ways to actually align different disciplines and make certain that we were focusing on the reality of people's experiences. The Sun movement was basically saying in all sectors, it should be possible to look and see how one could contribute to better nutrition, to be more nutrition sensitive. And people obviously, understandably said, well, how do you make yourselves more nutrition sensitive in different sectors? What does it mean concretely? How do you operationalize nutrition sensitive working? And where's your evidence that it actually works? And that's where your group has been so important. You've been instrumental in moving the nutrition agenda forward, and beyond that, the food systems agenda. And now we need you more than ever. I'm just going to tell you why. Basically, we have an unprecedented opportunity to work better together and to deepen our impact. The UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, is calling for a UN Food Systems Summit, a summit that he's organising in the fall of 2021. He wants it to be a people's summit. He's saying there are several ways to engage, but one way which is particularly relevant for the members of this community are the Food Systems Summit dialogues. The dialogues enable different stakeholders to come together and agree on how they will work together to create food systems that are both sustainable and equitable. Food systems that are aligned with all 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. Food systems that are suited to the future needs of our world and her people. There are 3 kinds of Food Systems Summit dialogues being prepared. The first is global dialogues that are held alongside major global international events on themes that are related to food systems, such as environment, water, finance, and health. Then there are the member state dialogues, a series of dialogues convened by national governments, and they're going to take place at national and at subnational levels. They're designed for stakeholders to elaborate collectively national pathways towards sustainable food systems. And to be in a series of 3 stages. Stage 1, a sort of inception. Stage 2, exploration. Stage 3, consolidation. But all involving. We see signs that at least 30 countries have decided they're going to move ahead and try to do these member state dialogues. And we're hoping that there'll be as many as 150. And then thirdly, independent dialogues, which any individual or organisation or group of organisations, including yourselves, can convene. They're going to be really exciting. And invite you all to visit the Food Systems Summit Dialogues Gateway. That's a The website, www.summitdialogues.org. Summit Dialogues is all one word, where you'll find all the information you need to engage, including handbooks, online training opportunities, the map with all the planned dialogues, and much more. And I look forward to continuing our common journey towards improved health, nutrition, and well-being for all. Thank you very much indeed for your leadership. Wonderful to be with you.
So there we go. Thank you, everybody. I have the pleasure now working in that team with David on the dialogue. So stand ready to help if you have any questions, and I'll type that website in the chat. And again, congratulations, Anna and the whole team for an amazing 10 years, and looking forward to the 10 next years. And I think with this, I hand over to Stinica, as the SCN has been another pillar of that adventure.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, and thank you so much to the team to inviting me here. First of all, of course, a big congratulations to you, Anna, Emily, and all the others who have made and are still making this community of practice a very successful one. I'm so honored to be part of this celebration, and just a very short reflections to share my thoughts. This community of practice has been a milestone in the recognition that nutrition is so much more than only just the concern of the health sector, or if you wish to say, the so-called direct nutrition interventions. The COP started at the moment that the UNSCN, the Standing Committee on Nutrition, was going through quite a turbulent period. And I believe the start of this COP has allowed some very needed discussion about growing insights, how to make agriculture work for nutrition to continue. 5 years ago, UNSCN rebranded itself, and all UN members agreed that it should offer a platform for substantive debate and discussion about nutrition-related topics. And this Ag2Nut was one of the platforms that we are supporting in the spirit of this function, being a substantive platform for substantive debate and discussion. And this is also true for some of the other important COPs, like, for example, the one about nutrition and non-communicable diseases. But the Ag2Nut platform has continued to offer yearly updates to UNSCN about its achievements, and also about its growing number of subscribers, just shining and showing how successful it is. And these subscribers are not just present at the global level, but are there everywhere, at regional level, country level. It is so good to see how so many people and institutes take ownership of this topic, how nutrition can work how agriculture can work for nutrition, and embrace nutrition as an important and so needed outcome of agriculture. Now, UNSCN is transforming into UN Nutrition, much more linking global and country levels. The UN focus will remain. What also remains is the strong intention to remain a platform for substantive debate and conversations about nutrition. And in that sense, in that spirit, you can count on the continued support of UN Nutrition for this COP, for this platform. And we will continue to reach out to you to circulate our relevant messages to your constituencies, and also vice versa. We hope you will continue to report to UN Nutrition about your progress and your impact. Thanks so much again for your wonderful and successful efforts, and thanks also for being here. Over to you again, Charlotte.
And I'll hand over to Anna, I think.
Yes, thank you, Stinica, for the all the support and the partnership of SCN. It's really enabled us to be able to grow. We couldn't have done it without you, and we are looking forward to continuing to partner and support, as however the community can, towards UN nutrition. So thank you, and thanks Charlotte and also David in absentia for your remarks. And now I would like to introduce Heather Danton, who is the project director at USAID Advancing Nutrition. She used to, Advancing Nutrition, is former iteration basically was the Spring Project. So Heather has also been here, really from the start, and she sent a video remark.
Hi, Anna. Cecilia, Emily, and Ag2Nut members. I'm so sorry I'm unable to attend today's celebration, but I want to congratulate you, in fact, all of us, in the success of this community of practice. I've been involved with Ag2Nut since 2013, when the community was still fairly new in the nutrition and food security world. It was at that time that I began to work on USAID's Global Nutrition Project, SPRING. In the early days of SPRING, new evidence from the Lancet series on maternal and child nutrition provided momentum to better understand the how of linking agriculture and nutrition. This community has been instrumental in ensuring that some of the theoretical ideas first proposed have become grounded in the experience and know-how from across this diverse group. At that same time, we, the SPRING Project, led by JSI Research and Training Institute, were fortunate to work with Anna and Jody Harris to adapt the agriculture to nutrition pathways originally described by Sunita Kadiala and her colleagues. The agriculture to nutrition pathways briefs that resulted became seminal documents that guided USAID's early thinking around why and how agriculture interventions, policies, and investments must be purposefully planned to positively affect nutrition. We also worked closely with Anna to develop and later adapt for USAID's use, guiding principles for linking agriculture and nutrition, all guided by you, the incredible members of this community. In those early days, Ag2Nut organized phone calls to discuss promising practices and share new evidence and ideas. The calls were challenging to facilitate, but served an important purpose to bring people together. At that time, in 2013, SPRING was experimenting with new ways of convening people around the world. The webinar, can you believe how quickly virtual sharing approaches and technologies have progressed? But this format allowed visuals to be shared and made facilitating discussion easier. Over the next 4 years, SPRING hosted over 30 webinars with Ag2Nut to share best practices and the latest evidence on the linkages between agriculture and nutrition. Participation in those webinars and the community steadily grew, so that by the end, calls that once had a dozen participants included hundreds. The recordings of the meetings continue to be accessed with hundreds of views, some of which are still accessed today. And now, with ANH hosting these learning and sharing opportunities, they have continued to grow. As I recall, one of the COVID-19 calls early on in the epidemic reached the 500-person limit of the platform. That's amazing. And it's so great to see how this community has continued to thrive over the years and continues to serve as an important voice in linking agriculture and nutrition. It has been such an honor to be a part of this community. I'm happy that we have been and will continue to be a part of Ag2Nut's success through the USAID Advancing Nutrition Project. And congratulations, let's keep sharing and growing. No one of us can build evidence and improve nutritional outcomes alone.
Thanks. I want to really thank Heather for those words, and I will relay that to her after this webinar today. And really what she said at the end there, none of us can do it alone. You know, the partnership that we've had with SPRING, with Heather and John Nicholson, being Ag2Nut members and supporting our webinars through SPRING for a while was really important for this, for the function of the community in terms of connecting through conversations and webinars to proceed. And now ANH Academy is playing that role and supporting the webinars as we're here today with the support and hosting of ANH Academy here. And so I would like to invite Joe Yates to say a few words as the co-director of ANH Academy, along with Sunita Kadiala. And it really has just helped both of our communities to grow together, I think, to have this partnership. So Joe, over to you.
Thanks, Anna. And a massive congratulations, everyone, to Anna, Emily, Cecilia. Huge achievement. And well, I just wanted to say, you know, build on what you just said and what Heather was talking about as well, to say, you know what, the sense of collaboration between these two communities, I think really, to me, is symbolic of everything that is good about what we, you know, the world we all operate in ag, nutrition and health. I think often we think about collaboration and partnership on the individual level, you know, but what this signifies is that, you know, two big communities, you know, collaborating together, you can get so much added value from that, and there's so much benefit across the board. You know, one example is, and Charlotte was mentioning this earlier in the week, is that for the A&H Academy research community, having your ear to the ground, having that interaction and interplay with this vast community of practice of people who are on the ground, you know, practitioners and policymakers, is a really strong, is a really powerful relationship, because it helps to articulate needs that can then be translated into, you know, research agendas and evidence generation and so forth. And so, you know, I just want to say a massive thank you for that, and I hope that we can continue working together. One of the things I wanted to just, you know, also talk about is, if, you know, people can cast their mind back to a time in the olden days when we could be together, you know, physically. You know, I was thinking back to when we first ran the Agriculture, Nutrition and Health Academy Week in Addis in 2016, and this was very much the legacy of the Elsevier conferences that Jeff Varga and the Elsevier team were running in London in years before that. But the first Academy Week was really a family-run affair, and it still is, but it was really put together quite informally. And Anna and Ricardo came to us and said, you know, is there space in the program for an intimate gathering, because there's some interest from the Ethiopians and wider groups about creating a subgroup. And I remember looking into the conference room that evening and seeing all of the chairs had been pulled together in a huddle in a little circle, and there was this very intimate but meaningful, you know, discussion going on. And I think that again for me symbolizes what this sense of community is about and what it can do. And actually coming here today creates that same feeling, you know, seeing all these familiar faces. And now you're going to hear, you know, in a minute from Ricardo about how that Ethiopia group has grown and what it's become. So, and then just finally, just to say, you know, about the webinar series, I've lost count actually of how many webinars Ag2Nut has now hosted through the Academy. And I think Abel's going to post the link to where you can find those. But it's been really meaningful to collaborate on these webinars as well, and we can see that in not just the number of people, but the range of participants and the type of the richness of interaction that happens on those calls. And Heather's right, you know, the one responding to this crazy year and what's happened with COVID, that first webinar that Ag2Nut Inspire put on was really set the tone, I think, for what was possible. So again, just a massive thank you from us all at the Academy, and you know, we're thrilled to be part of this partnership and part of this lovely community of practice. So here's to the next 10 years.
Thank you, Joe. Can you all see my screen now? So yeah, we're really grateful for the partnership that has been with many organizations and with all of you that make Ag2Nut. We have now over the years grown to, as of today, 7,653 members. And this is, you can see the growth has been pretty high, especially since 2014 to now. The community has continued to increase. Now we are at 130 countries, representatives from 130 countries also in 2020. And the UNSCN has been hosting the Ag2Nut membership platform for a while. And so I wanted to share with you, I know that we usually use it more as an email list, but if you do log in, you will be able to find that with the sub-communities, you can see there, sorry, I can see my screen over here, Ag2Nut Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Ghana, you can access them. Ethiopia is our most active community because they have also been there for a while, and we'll have Ricardo share in a little bit. You can also see that you can look any of our members per country. We have our discussions there, and you have links to the webinars and to our Twitter and LinkedIn group on the homepage. When you go to the members part, you can see in the map, and if you hover over one country, like we can see here in Bangladesh, you'll see that there are 50 members there. And if you click on that bubble, it will take you to the list of members, and you are able to see the information that everyone has shared and be able to get in touch with any of these members. We also created a little bit ago a LinkedIn group. Currently we have close to 500 members there, and the purpose of this LinkedIn group is so that we can continue to make connections and collaborations and share opportunities. Like the last one here is someone shared an opportunity to apply for doctoral research. So do join us. The link is on the platform homepage for Ag2Nut. We recently created also an Ag2Nut Twitter account where we can share information with our professional networks as well. And we have a new logo also that just full disclosure, my talented husband helped us create. We sent you a survey, and we really enjoy seeing your responses. The response that was the 82% of people say that how has Ag2Nut benefited you is staying connected and updated on relevant events and research. And after that, attending webinars. We host about 4 to 5 webinars a year. And also expanding the professional network is another important one, and learning about grant and funding opportunities. I'll leave you with a quote from Professor Will Masters from the Friedman School of Nutrition at Tufts University. He says, Ag2Nut provides a uniquely valuable public service. It does exactly what early internet pioneers intended to accomplish, allowing thousands of geographically dispersed people to talk directly with each other about their common interests. My first word of advice to students interested in global agriculture and nutrition is that they should join Ag2Nut to keep learning what researchers and practitioners are doing around the world. And so I have done the same whenever I hear people that are interested about Ag2Nut, I direct them to the list, of course, so that they can start learning from there. Thank you. Now we're going to go into a time of sharing from different members of the Ag2Nut community, and we will start with Fikadu, who is the leader of the Ag2Nut Ethiopia subgroup.
Okay, thank you very much, Cecilia, for the introduction. Also, happy anniversary for all Ag2Nut community, for Anna, Cecilia, Emily, and all the others that we have been together for a long time. And I'm Fikadu from Ethiopia. I'm one of the witnesses for the impact this community brought to a lot of young people who cannot easily access information, especially in Ethiopia. I'll briefly tell you the story about where we started from and where we are today. And the Ethiopian Ag2Nut community, initially, I learned about this community through my advisor in University of Copenhagen in Denmark. And I was one of the luckiest guys, because at that time, nutrition was really very, as its early stage in Ethiopia, and people don't have access to really what's actually nutrition and how to get connected with people and who is working on nutrition. And so my advisor at the University of Copenhagen, I really would like to acknowledge her. She's the one who told me about the Ag2Nut global communities. And in 2016, when the first ANHL Academy was conducted here in Addis Ababa at the Hilton Hotel, I remember we were about 20 or 15 people sitting together and discussing how to make this Ethiopian subgroup of the Ag2Nut. So why did we started it? It was to facilitate exchange of information, which was very powerful, as you know, information exchange and also networking between scholars with focus on Ethiopia was our major intention, because some of the topics we share on the global forum might not be that much interesting for people who are not really working with Ethiopia. So we started in 2016, and then since it started, it's one of the biggest forums now in Ethiopia, forming a lot of young people by providing information and by being a source of like a lot of grants and networking opportunities, even for graduate students to get advisors, research grants, and for us to find guest teachers for our academic programs and the like. So by now we have about 2,900 members from 39 countries all over the world. Or these are people who have, in one way or another, research or development interest in Ethiopia. And so the forum benefited a lot of graduate students. I can count them, like how many of them managed to get a research funding, academic advisor. Also, as a member of our university staff member, it was very easy for us to host academic conferences and cost-effective ways of engaging with partners within country and abroad, especially to make curriculum review, online surveys, and yeah, the benefits are a lot. And yeah, we can see it from the number of discussions which have been done. About 676 discussions have been ongoing in the Ethiopian Ag2Nut community side. So we're really grateful and we're really happy. And I'm also grateful for even my personal networks, for example, Cecilia, Anna. I feel like we belong to the same classroom. And so I think this is one of really the very good fruits of this forum. So, and happy anniversary, and we're really ready to work together and wish nice time. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Fikadu.
Fikadu, for so much incredible leadership to initiate and grow the community of practice in Ethiopia and all these outcomes. Really amazing. And Usman Ibrahim is a co-leader of the Ag2Nut Nigeria subgroup, and will also say a few words. Go ahead, Usman. You're muted.
Hello, good afternoon from Nigeria. I'm happy to be part of this group. I remember in 2016, we were in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, for the ANH Academic Week. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, so in 2016, that was the first ANH Academic Week, and that was when I met Fikadu and some of the group leaders. And by 2018 in Ghana, the Nigeria subgroup was formed. I remember Nigeria had the highest number of the conference participants all over the world that were in Ghana that year. And the group is currently being coordinated by 3 of us. We have Olutayo Adeyemi, who is a nutritionist. Then we have Rachel. Rachel is an agricultural extension. And then you have me, who is an agronomist. Currently, we have about 143 members, in Nigeria and in about 16 countries, but most of the members are from Nigeria. We have also been able to coordinate a lot of programs, within Nigeria and internationally. And I know the last program we had was on the effect, was in collaboration with Horticultural Society of Nigeria, where also I'm the president of that society. We had a discussion on the effect of, or the role of horticulture during COVID-19. It was one of the best webinar that was well attended. It was very informative and it was very interesting. Lastly, I want to thank Anna. I remember in Ghana, I was following her from the program, telling her, please, we want to start the Nigeria group. Then she said, You people need to organize yourself. We cannot impose it. So we met, and finally at the end of the week conference, we had a meeting and I was chosen to lead the group. And since then, we have been having very interesting interactions, and we have been having a lot of fruitful discussion. I know things will get better. There are a lot of people who are showing more interest and a lot of other organizations trying to join us. So I hope that by next year, when we'll be celebrating the 11th year, the Nigeria group will have increased and will have made more impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Usman. So we will now move to our last minutes of sharing. Other members from the Ag2Nut community to share. And also, if you do want to give some brief remarks, please use the raise hand feature of Zoom. But I will call on Daniel from the Philippines, who had really nice words to share on the survey. And we would love to start with you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Actually, it's good evening in the Philippines, and I think it's just resemble the spirit of connectedness wherever we are in the world, either you're in Europe, US, or here in Asia. So I am Dan from the Philippines. First of all, congratulations to the team who really labor for the creation of this community. And I can claim that I am one of the newbies to the community. I joined actually first the ANH Academy in 2019 and heard of this Ag2Nut community. And so I'm very new to this, just 2020, because of one of the outset of pandemic is to get trends, updates virtually. So it has been very helpful. So I think Emily mentioned about knowledge sharing, which I think is very, very significant for the community of practice, especially to me. In my case, in the Philippines, I have multiple jobs, actually. I'm a nutritionist. I work for the government, the National Nutrition Council. It's actually the highest policy making and coordinating body on nutrition. And also, because of this community, I saw a lot of trends and innovations that we can adopt in the Philippines. I learned about the auto antro that hopefully we are dreaming that we can also validate here in the Philippines. I know that you're familiar with auto antro is a mobile application on measuring for nutritional assessment, which we have a problem on quality of data collecting this in the far-flung areas in the country, as we are an archipelago. And I'm also a public relations officer of a professional organization on nutrition and dietetics here in the Philippines, and now a first-time faculty member of a university, one of the largest university in the Philippines, University of Santo Tomas. As a I handle food and nutrition research, and the community is very helpful. It's, specifically that your the updates, the trends. These is very helpful to update myself, of course, that I can share with my fellow colleagues and students and know what is happening specifically in the international scene. Possible research topics also, more ideas, and of course, benefit of joining the community with generous knowledge sharing and opportunities for us in the practice. So for me, the community felt very warm and welcoming, and I hope that there will be more opportunities, or there will be coming opportunities soon to meet face to face when all is safe, and when we have the vaccines, etc. For this. So I think in behalf of all the Filipinos who are benefiting from this community, I think the organizers who really labor for the creation of this community of practice. Thank you, thank you.
Nice, thank you so much. We have Mebit Kevede. I will ask you to unmute, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Sorry.
We can hear
now,
you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from where you are. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. This is Mabit Kabada. I'm from Ethiopia. I'm a member of this committee of practice. As Fakadu mentioned earlier, I was one of the members which initially started while we are joining at Hilton Hotel during the first HNA Academy. So this community of practice is helping us for so many things. I'm working on project which is Growth Nutrition Project, which is a USAID project. This project is linked to the agriculture, nutrition, and health sector. And this community of practice are helping me to access different informations and implement for my profession or for my roles. Even I'm very happy to share the experience of this project. If there is another platform where in the future how we are linking the agriculture, nutrition, and health in the community. So this community of practice is helping us even to sharing experiences of different colleagues, countries, and to implement for our project even. So this community of practice is helpful and important to share the knowledge, skill, and experiences of different colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mebit. And I want to mention that I know that the time is coming up. We're just going to stay for only some more minutes, but we would love to hear from more of you. I will ask Will if he would want to share. I know he has to go soon, so I'll ask you to unmute.
Sure, thank you, Cecilia. Yeah, I just made a few comments in the chat box. So for people who aren't seeing the chat box, first, thanks to Cecilia for picking up the relay race that this has been, but also that so much of this work has been purely volunteering from just the spirit of Anna and Charlotte from the beginning, and you know, and so much, you know, Emily coming in just entirely on a volunteer basis. So first of all, I think it's really important to recognize that all of us do a lot of that and we should keep doing it, but I think it is not sustainable. So I really appreciate Ag2Nut coming in and others coming in with material support and trying to understand how we can make this invention, this creation, something that will really last and be well funded instead of just relying on the volunteering work. The volunteering work has been so great and so essential to starting something new. And then the question becomes, how can it be funded sustainably? So thanks for.
Thank you so much, Will. And I mean, your support and membership as an Ag2Nut member has been really instrumental. As you know, we have so many people in this community who do amazing things in your own networks. And I think what you're saying, Will, it actually reminds me a bit of Stone Soup. You know, what we've done is it's been incredible that by putting all the stones in the pot and everybody bringing a little bit of something, we've been able to generate this delicious soup for, you know, everyone to partake in. So that has, I think the theme here is that nobody can do it alone.
Yes. Nice. Well, we could probably go maybe for up to 5 minutes longer. And again, we would love to hear from you all. If anyone wants to share, do raise your hand or use the chat box to tell me and I can unmute you. But it's been wonderful. I know there's a lot of memories that all of these brings. I have Daji wants to share, so I will unmute you now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be a part of this group and also to join for the celebration of this anniversary. I'm from Cote d'Ivoire. I can say that I'm very new.
Oh, we lost Daji.
It will be nice also for the next coming, week to be a part of you and also to have a tool of leadership in that area. So I'm very happy to join you, and I hope that we stay in touch for the future for Cote d'Ivoire, to have a group here in Cote d'Ivoire. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. As Emily put in the chat box, it really takes someone who's motivated to lead that and to put together a group of founding members, and then we will help you set it up, and then you will take it from there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And then maybe we will end. I have Florence Eagle, who has a hand raised. I will unmute you. Oh, you're unmuted.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to all of you who have kept that working. The comment I wanted to make is that this information technology has been very useful. These email networks have been fantastic, because that's how the community of practice was able to communicate all these years. And I think that this year, with the explosion of Zoom, we have even more possibilities to exchange the message and mainstream and bring it to a series of processes. And this will be particularly important for the organization of the Food Systems Summit. And I know many of you are engaged in that. And of course, of the Nutrition for Growth meeting. So I think now we're all stuck at home, but by being stuck at home, we are spending so much time learning about other things and engaging in other dialogues.
Thank you, Florence. And I do remember that you were also one of the initial members from the very beginning when you were at FAO in 2010. Thanks for the consistent partnership through the years. And I totally agree that this is, Charlotte's noting Florence was the one connecting us to UNSCN. Yes, very important. So thank you for all these ideas. And I totally agree with this Zoom ability. You know, it really, sometimes I just step back and think it's incredible that I can sit here in my house talking to people from Cote d'Ivoire and the Philippines and Ethiopia. It's really, it's become a small world, and this ability to connect, fortunately at this time, has enabled us to do a lot together as a global community, which I really, I love that ethic and our ability to really make change worldwide, thanks to all the members. And I'd like to just give the last word now to Emily, who really, you know, again, this wouldn't exist without Emily's fearlessness and her vision. And she's such a community builder, and you know, deserves all of the credit for us being here to talk to each other. So over to you, Emily, to wrap up.
Thank you, Anna, and everybody. It's a bit of a toss-up whether we're going to pay attention to this speaker, all the wonderful things going on in the chat box. So I'm just so grateful for everybody being here today, and I'm going to move to gallery view so I can see you all. Turn off the tantalizing chat box. You know, despite all of the difficult news about COVID going on these days, I think let's let Ag2Nut be a bright light going on in our lives, okay? Let's keep it going. Let's continue to contribute, continue to bring people together wherever we are, virtually or in person, in our organizations. Keep the dialogue going, because the only way we know to solve malnutrition is to work across sectors. And the beauty of this group is we've kept it informal, we've kept it independent, and all of you are what makes it successful. So I am so grateful for everybody's involvement. And if you ever want to help with the leadership, let us know, Cecilia or Anna or I, or even anybody who's helped with organizing this call at A&H. They're helping us organize these days. We do welcome other people, especially from the regions. And so I want to thank my husband, my soil scientist partner here, that that Ag2Nutrition, you know, is a beautiful thing. It is what brings forth life around the world. So we're so thankful, and we look forward to ongoing dialogues about how to make this more sustainable. I have dreams about funding scholarships for students around the world, especially from lower resourced settings. So we'll be in touch in the new year. So thank you everybody for all your comments and contributions. And Shelley Sundberg from Gates has been involved from early on, cheerleading us and all of that. So thank you everybody.